We hate that! You already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop and Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Bobby.
I'll be the first one to admit that maybe I don't quite understand the nuances of the world of professional wrestling. The heyday for me, growing up watching wrestling, one of my favorite things about what saved me as a wrestling fan was the cruiserweight division. And I still have fond memories of watching the emergence of Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko, Super Calo. Yeah, I like Super Calo. Psicosis, Juventud Guerrera, Blitzkrieg. I mean, I can go on and on. That WCW Cruiserweight division was always just so amazing to me. And one of the most amazing things is when Ultimo Dragon showed up. Now, what got me thinking about the Cruiserweight division and junior heavyweights in general was I saw a video while doom scrolling on the X app, the one that we used to call Twitter. And I found this video of a 56-year-old, I believe he's 56-year-old, Ultimo Dragon, who's been wrestling since 1987, has, maintained that high-flying style of pro wrestling that he learned in the early days of his career in Mexico. He's still going. And guys, he's going at a faster speed than some of the regulars we watch these days. And I couldn't help but think, man, where did all the good junior heavyweights go? Now, I know that the style of wrestling in the United States has been more adaptable, and guys who previously would have been considered junior heavyweights are now accepted in that more of an open weight, heavyweight category of pro wrestling. I mean, Rey Mysterio is a former WWE World Champion. He was Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, all these guys who are once considered junior heavyweights, all kind of graduated to that heavyweight class. And even as recently as just a few years ago, the WWE back in 2016 reintroduced the cruiserweight division that eventually just failed. They could never get that to stick, even when they put people who were very interesting on the mic, like Enzo Amore. Even when they put more characters in the division, it just never really materialized. And when you look internationally, the junior heavyweights are often recognized as on the same caliber as their heavyweight counterparts. I mean, you look, the aforementioned Ultimo Dragon, who held the Super J crown, the 8 titles, right? That picture is synonymous with excellence in the sport of professional wrestling. Nobody, and I mean nobody, discounts the efforts and merits and accolades that are bestowed upon Jushin Thunder Liger. For crying out loud, he's a legend, right? And then you look at guys like in Mexico, they've always had the middleweight division or the light heavyweight division, and these divisions in the wrestling have always made sense, but for whatever reason, that's been abandoned almost entirely in the United States. There is no junior heavyweight division in the WWE. AEW does not have a junior heavyweight division. In fact, the closest thing to it of the big three would be Impact with their X division. Now, but that's also skewed too, because the X division was always about it wasn't about weight limits, it was about no limits. And that's why Samoa Joe was such an effective X Division champion, because there was no weight class for that. It was an open weight division. It was just a hard-hitting, high-flying style of wrestling. There's actually one promotion that continues to offer the junior heavyweight division, and they didn't do that until just about a year ago, or a little over a year ago, and I'm talking about the NWA. Of course we talk about the NWA here. The National Wrestling Alliance, wrestling the way it should be. That was completely devoid of a junior heavyweight division from 2017 to 2022. 5 years they waited to reactivate the World Junior Heavyweight title. They didn't let our boy Barrett Brown even play in the game. to win the title. But they did put the belt on Homicide. Homicide defeated Darius Lockhart, defeated Austin Aries, defeated Colby Corino to become the World Junior Heavyweight Champion. And as champion, really helped to create that division. So I guess with so much junior heavyweight wrestling happening right now, let's talk about the junior heavyweights. Let's talk about some junior heavyweight wrestling. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship as it was defended on a Monday Nitro. Times are tough now, guys, and it's no joke out here. That's why I'm very proud to be partnering with the Upside app. They're leveling the playing field, guys. They're giving you opportunities to earn cash back on purchases for groceries, purchases for gasoline, purchases for food. These are the things we all spend our money on all the time. I believe in Upside. I use Upside weekly. My lifetime earnings is over $408, and you too can be earning cash back on your fill-ups, your groceries, or your eating out experiences just by signing up, and it's free. By using my invite code JASON75338, that's Jason 753338, you'll earn $5 cash back on your first fill-up. Use the link in the video description or download the app, but make sure you use that invite code JASON753338 and make money by using the Upside app. So besides doom scrolling recently on the X app, Twitter, the reason why Ultimo Dragon weighs so heavily on my mind, because again, he's 56 years old, still competing at a high level, has had matches even recently in Mexico and the United States, Australia. Even our buddy Pole Jump booked him for one of his shows. In fact, that was not too long ago. That was back in June at the All-Star Wrestling Australia's Night to Remember. So it's always cool to me to see that somebody like Ultimo Dragon is still very much an active wrestler. But going back to why he's so significant and special to me, it's all about me, isn't it? Is thinking about his run as NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion. Now, I know what you're saying. Hey, J. Cal, when was he in the NWA? And I'm going to tell you, you know what? He wasn't. But back in 1996, in fact, I think it might have even been earlier than that, but there was a tournament to create a unified junior heavyweight champion. The tournament took place on August 5th in 1996. It was built on the back of New Japan Pro Wrestling. They called it the J Crown, or the Octuple Unified Championship. And there was multiple championships for multiple promotions. So like Michinoku Pro was using the British Commonwealth Junior Heavyweight Championship. Of course, New Japan was offering up their IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Wrestling Yum Factory, we've talked about this before, had control of the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title at the time. We'll just call CMLL. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre offered up their World Welterweight Championship. The Universal Wrestling Association, also through Michinoku Pro Wrestling, had their Junior Heavyweight Championship. Wrestling Association, Wrestling and Romance offered up the International Junior Heavyweight title. Michinoku Pro had a third Junior Heavyweight Championship involved with the WWA World Light Heavyweight Championship. And of course, there was still the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship that was being contested between Michinoku Pro and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So you had Jushin Thunder Liger, the Great Sasuke, the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion Masayoshi Montegi, Negro Casas, Shinjiro Otani, Ultimo Dragon, Gran Hamada, and El Samurai compete in this tournament. And, the Great Sasuke was the one to first win the NWA World's Junior Heavyweight Championship, because the Great Sasuke, who was also the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, defeated Masayoshi Motegi in the quarterfinals to capture that title, and then would defeat El Samurai, who was the WWF light heavyweight champion, to advance to the finals. And the great Sasuke would then merge all 8 titles together. But you got it, at one point, the great Sasuke was holding the IWGP, WCW, excuse me, not WCW, excuse me, I take that back, the NWA and the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship simultaneously before unifying them with the other titles that were there. And then it wouldn't be long before Ultimo Dragon would capture this title. Now, Ultimo Dragon had the distinction, though, of being a competitor in WCW at the time. So when Ultimo Dragon wins the title by defeating the great Sasuke, he was the champion. He was the octuple champion, and specifically for us, he was the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion. So he would go on and defend against Grand Nanawa. He would defend against Rey Mysterio. He would defend against former NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion Masayoshi Motegi. And then he would head to Starrcade 1996 in the Municipal Auditorium in Nashville and defeat Dean Malenko. He would go on to defeat Jushin Thunder Liger. Oh, excuse me. Not only did he defeat Dean Malenko, but he became Cruiserweight Champion and then had 9 titles, right? He would take that Cruiserweight title and wrestle against Jushin Thunder Liger on an episode of Nitro. So two times, the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship was defended on WCW programming. And I think that's pretty cool. Because up until that point, the split, we're talking, this is 1996. Remember, it was 1993 that WCW left the NWA. So I think it's kind of neat that somehow, some way that NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship ended up back on a WCW program. More interesting is now the title was mostly being controlled by New Japan Pro Wrestling. In fact, they would control that title until the title was actually retired. It wasn't necessarily retired. The octuple crown was retired because at that point the WWE wanted their intellectual property back, and so they just dissolved all the championships, and the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship would come back to the United States. But that wouldn't happen until November 5th, 1997. I just think it's kind of cool that junior heavyweight title would go on to go back to Japan later under the around the waist of Rocky Romero, also known as Black Tiger Mask or Black Tiger Mask 4. So you would see that title return to Japan for some time. And the reason why I bring this up is because, again, the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship was then a very highly sought after commodity. After Rocky Romero had it, then we would see Tiger Mask win it. Tiger Mask eventually would drop the belt to Mike Quackenbush. Quackenbush would drop it to Craig Classic. Craig Classic would essentially leave the company with the world title in hand, and the NWA would crown a new World Junior Heavyweight Champion in our own pal, Kevin Frazier, Kevin Douglas, the modern day hero, who would then eventually be stripped of the title. Chase Owens would win the belt. Owens would drop it to Kincaid and win it back. He would drop it to Ricky Morton and then win it back. And then the title kind of went through a series of some other people that you might not be too familiar with. You're familiar with Jushin Liger when the title went back to New Japan. And then Steve Anthony would go and try to win that title back. Tiger Mask would have his second run. Anthony would have his second run. And then it would come back to the States, where it was shared between John Saxon, Eric Andrews, Mr. USA, and then Barrett Brown. And then the title again would go quiet. Homicide would win that championship at the Crockett Cup 2020. Like I said earlier, defeating Darius Lockhart, defeating Colby Corino, and defeating uh, Austin Aries, a great junior heavyweight in its own right. And then Homicide would hold that title for almost 8 months before Kerry Morton would win the title at Hard Times in New Orleans. And in that short amount of time, that 8 months that Homicide had the title, I mean, it was a catalyst for the division, right? Because up until that point, there wasn't really there was no junior heavyweight title. The NWA was considered the land of the super heavyweights or heavyweights, on a roster that was made up of guys like Tom Latimer, Jax Dane, Tyrus, uh, you know, uh, Tim Storm, Nick Aldis. There was very few junior heavyweights on the roster. In fact, you could probably identify maybe 3 of them in Matt Cross, who was there for some time. You could also mention, of course, Ricky Starks, who would definitely fit that junior heavyweight division. But there wasn't a huge junior heavyweight following in the NWA until Homicide and Colby Corino kind of took charge of that division. That would also see Doug Williams, Rhett Titus, and then that's the thing. When Homicide won the title, he really went out there and put his name out there, kind of put a stink on the title. He had defenses in Power, he had defenses on pay-per-views, he had defenses in New York, he had defenses in New Jersey. He got out there and tried to put that stink on the NWA World Title to make it viable, to make it valuable. And I mean, victories over Doug Williams, Austin Aries, Rhett Titus, Peter Avalon, Tony Deppen, Colby Corino, PJ Hawk, Kerry Morton, Ray Jazz. He really established that title as something meaningful. Defended it on back-to-back nights against the Mortons on the 74th anniversary show. Well, then Kerry Morton wins that title, and what does he do? The exact same thing, except for instead of having to establish that division, now he was the guy people were coming for, right? And as the junior heavyweight champion, Kerry's defended that title everywhere. He's taken that belt to Australia, took it to Mexico. He's currently wrestling all over the United States, defending that title in and out of NWA rings. I mean, he's wrestled recently Brian Pillman Jr., Jimmy Lloyd, Alex Taylor, I'm trying to find names outside of the NWA that I didn't mention already. Barrett Brown, and then inside the NWA, he's faced, Adam Brooks, Matt Diamond, Slex from that Australian tour, Joe Alonzo, Alex Taylor, Dak Draper, Jack Cartwheel. So, I mean, he's really taken that title and even added more value to it. And now, when we talk about junior heavyweights in the United States, like, it's Kerry Morton, baby. Kerry Morton is the standard bearer, which is kind of a shame. It's kind of a shame because this weekend, New Japan Pro Wrestling is holding an event at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, Philly, the former home of ECW. And it is a celebration of the junior heavyweights. And, it's Goldie will be there. We've talked about Goldie a lot on this podcast. Vinny Pacifico, Clark Connors, Mike Speedball Mike Bailey. There's stars from CMLL. There's stars from Game Changer Wrestling. There's stars from everywhere. I mean, AEW. But what there isn't a World Junior Heavyweight Champion in the name of Kerry Morton on this event. I'm not going to be insulted by it, but I mean, they were able to find a spot for Cheeseburger on this card. Are you telling me you couldn't find a spot for Kerry Morton? And I mean, there's some great junior heavyweights that are on this, going to be on these matches. Some from the U.S. like Ace Austin, Alex Shelley, Chris Bay, T.J. Perkins, Leo Rush, Matt Seidel, Nick Wayne, Jordan Oliver, Starboy Charlie, Jack Cartwheel, Rich Swann. I mean, and then, they match these up with a lot of stars from both Mexico and New Japan Pro Wrestling. The Dragon Kid, Soberano Jr., Fugas, Arabi Eagles from Australia. So I mean, it's looking like a great event. It's going to be a good night for the junior heavyweights. It's just a shame that they couldn't find a spot for the world junior heavyweight champion in Kerry Morton. And on top of that, we look south of the border tonight. CMLL is holding an event tonight. That's a celebration also of the junior heavyweights, the Junior Heavyweight Grand Prix. And that's where stars like Rocky Romero, Samurai del Sol, TJ Perkins, Adrian Quest, Voladar Jr., Ultimo Guerrero, Kushida, Dragon Rojo Jr., which is one of my favorites. They're all going to be competing in Mexico City at the Arena Mexico. Again, another celebration of the junior heavyweights. So it's like everywhere in the U.S., the junior heavyweights seem to be thriving, and yet in the United States, the one promotion that has a world junior heavyweight champion wasn't invited to the prom, and I think that's kind of disappointing. But with all that being said, we're going to have a great junior heavyweight matchup with Colby Corino challenging Kerry Morton on night one of the 75th anniversary show for the NWA. So then you have also on night one, as part of the YouTube pre-show, you're going to have Eric Jackson, Alex Taylor, Triple A's Jack Cartwheel, Koa Laksamana, and Matt Vine competing for an opportunity to face the winner of Colby or Kerry on night number one. They're calling it the Jubilee Jamboree. Which, I mean, look, it's kind of a great idea because there is not really an established number two contender for that title. And, that could really mix things up. What if Alex Taylor wins, has to face Kerry Morton? Jack Cartwheel already wrestled against Kerry Morton. So we'll see how this all plans out. But I guess where I'm going with this is the junior heavyweight division is something that I'm glad the NWA has in front of it. I wish there was a few more people in the NWA wrestling for that junior heavyweights, specifically Barrett Brown. But I think it's cool that, of all the organizations that are out there, and even though it's celebrated in Japan and in Mexico, the NWA is really the only promotion that's pushing that junior heavyweight division. And they're pushing it with Kerry Morton, a guy that they have wrapped up under contract for at least the next year or so. So we'll see what happens with that. But, yeah. So that's my thoughts on the junior heavyweight wrestling. That's my thoughts going into this weekend. I hope you guys have a good weekend, and we'll be back on Monday with more of the Alliance Blog podcast. And we'll see you later. Thank you for tuning in to the Alliance Blog podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. The premier source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. Would you consider subscribing so you never miss a new episode? You can follow us on all social media at the Alliance Blog, and we stream live on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern at the Alliance Blog. Until then, we are the Alliance.